So you put Lauren to work yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I had a-
She left,
problem with the last thing. I submitted it and
no, actually, he's in my office right now. So when
so I
we're
ended up
here,
having
the
to
plan is we're gonna go
having to
full
print it
time.
myself the last minute.
So it's either
Color.
triple.
Fortunately, it wasn't.
Mothership.
Yeah,
Then we're gonna drive out East Case Road,
right, yeah.
taking out that way. And then
You
we're
have to
gonna
count
go
them
to
all.
Spice
He's
Woods.
never been.
Oh, no, he's never been.
So Candy, should we have your votes for them?
Actually, we're gonna go to the Oasis for dinner tonight. Oh. Because we're gonna drive out, I was just telling Brian, we're gonna drive out, DK Road, all the way out to Spice Then we're gonna come back, have dinner at, the Oasis, and then come back tomorrow morning.
Make the grand circuit.
Yeah, it's gonna be like. And that way you see some very good concerts.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And going through DK's Road, it's a nice drive. Westlake Hills,
When I got married, there was a church on the hill.
Oh, you did it? Yeah.
It has a great view of the lake. Is it not in the way, am I?
Not in the way.
How far do I have to weed to get in the camera?
As you're coming towards the dam.
Oh, you're in it, definitely, man. Yeah,
But it's got a view kind of like.
you're fine enough. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
beautiful.
because then we're gonna come back,
Yeah.
back down 22, 22, back to Canyon, and then walk back. And I figured Thursday night, I'm not terribly drunk.
They wouldn't hear that.
And what did they do?
We had a young friend who got married in St. Luke's on the lake. He was looking through the glass out at the lake. Of course, now the lakes are down, right?
Yeah. It's interesting that church has times that you can get married because of the light coming in, because the sun sets
Oh,
in the
right.
west. There's times that it's just not totally friendly. So they say, yeah, they say you can get married from 2 to 4, 9 to 11.
They've got it all figured out.
Catherine last.
Yeah, so some have not allowing them to print out a virgin contract.
What's part of their tradition?
Well, he's a messed up. Clergy messed
You're
up.
not allowed to be in unity. No unity here.
Well, they can practice on one that actually has without the print, without the print.
You shall become one flesh.
I don't know what to do. But he felt like people felt like magic.
Oh, okay.
So Catherine, she mentioned that it was
Family inside stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. And then next week is Mary and Claire.
You're gonna have to get some daughters home.
So I think that it's
Good morning, everybody. Thank you again for coming. We wanted to focus this week on a specific topic, which is how to actually make some of the videos that we've been talking about so much in previous weeks. And there's a lot of mechanics to that, and to be honest, it's a little daunting, at least it was for me, the thought of the first time standing up in front of a camera or the idea of capturing all the ums and ahs that I might normally say in lecture there on tape for everyone to hear over and over again. But I have to tell you, from my own experience, it is a little liberating as you get through this process a little bit, and then you realize I say and ah, and I say 1/x instead of x, and then you can go edit it out and like it never happened. I think there's a lot of good sides to developing videos like this. And I also learned for myself that it doesn't always have to be great. There are some really super templates for how to make the videos, and you're going to hear from some of our college staff about that. But then there's the really quick and dirty, I can make a video in 20 minutes on my kitchen table, and you can hear the lawnmower from my neighbor outside, or you can hear my kids running across the dining room screaming at each other, and it's still pretty darn good, at least for getting something done and ready for class the next day. So we're going to hear about a whole variety of options on down to the kitchen table thing, and I want you to feel absolutely liberated by this, because it is always a step better than what you've been doing, which is it's in class, it's vaporware once it's done, and the students didn't write it down because they dropped their pencil that minute, and then they've catastrophically lost the rest of class that whole day. You have it now captured on tape, at least in some form, and the students can go back and refer to it, and they can hit rewind over and over again. In fact, that's the thing that the students always told me in my classes was, you know, Professor Kopp, it wasn't really good the first time, but at least I got to hit rewind on it. The first time they met class, but anyway. So what I'd like to do is introduce Jesse Miller, who's one of our postdocs here. Jesse is a mathematician, but also working in support of some of the other courses. We have postdocs in a couple of different fields on the Quest team, and Jesse will tell us a little bit about the media lab that's been set up on the second floor of this building. You're invited to come in and make videos with our two videographers, Ryan Reeser back here and Farley Fife back over there. They will make this a one-stop shop for you. If you want to come in and schedule a day where you would like to make a video, you just come in and talk like you're about to give a class and then leave, and suddenly in your email is a web link to an MP4 file where you can have your little 15-minute video. So that's one mode of doing work. And then there are those of you who plan not as far ahead, and midnight the night before you need something done, and we can talk a little bit about the quick and dirty thing as well. But there's really a span of options here, and what I think we'll do is start with Jesse and tell us about the professional grade, what we can get, and then we can talk a little bit about some of the other options as well. All right, Jesse, you want to start?
So I'm Jesse, and we're actually going to start with a video that Ryan and Farley made that has some nice examples of some of the different templates, and after the video we'll talk in greater detail about the templates and answer any questions that you might have. And then I want to talk about just a few basic strategies and guidelines that you should keep in mind when you're making videos. Apart from the technical side, that's something that I hope you realize you don't have to worry about generally too much. Technical side is going to be taken care of. And then we'll finish, as Sasha said, talking a little bit about quick and dirty stuff.
Welcome to a brief introduction to the Audio Video Studio from the College of Natural Sciences at the University of Texas at Austin. The AV Studio is located in the Will C. Hogg Building, room WCH 2.310. Ryan Reeser, the media coordinator, and Farley Fife, the media support technician, manage the AV Studio, and they can be reached at the following phone and email addresses. However, the easiest way to reach both of them simultaneously is through this email address, cnsuTexasmedia@cns.utexas.edu. The steps for constructing your online class are as follows. 1. Tailor your presentation to run between 6 to 8 minutes. 2. Determine which type of video template you prefer. There are many variations to choose from. Do not be afraid to bring in an idea different from the following examples, or to combine multiple templates into one online class. Here are some template examples. The document camera. The document camera is similar to an overhead presentation. It is best suited for larger printed and written text or basic props.
Reflecting in all different directions from this object. Some of it is going to travel down like so and reach our eye. Way, it's not going straight on through. In fact, it's bending just a bit. And as I go from this,
One word of caution is not to use the document camera with graph paper or pictures with intricate designs, as it overwhelms its video processor. For that kind of presentation, you would use the next template, the computer screen capture. The computer screen capture is any PowerPoint, picture, or internet web page you would like to incorporate into your online class. If you have any text, it is a good idea to make it at least a size 23 font. Next is the overhead cam shot. This template is most commonly used for math problems or drawings done on paper. It is important to write with thick markers for this template.
you can see that the compass now points away from it. The north pole of the magnet is attracted to the south pole of the compass, or the tail of the arrow. You can see, again, I can move it.
Next is the smartboard shot. Here are a couple of the smartboard's features to keep in mind. The smartboard shot utilizes a big electronic screen that a presenter may write on with red, green, blue, and black electronic markers. You can clear the board by using the eraser. The presenter can advance slides by either a clicker or by touchscreen. The smartboard can also display internet web pages and PowerPoint demonstrations, which can then be written on. Because of the various types of technology, we recommend you schedule a practice session prior to recording the presentation. It is also possible to shoot outside the AV studio, but you will need to contact Ryan or Farley to work out the details. Here are some other examples.
Involving a power supply and a resistor connected by some wires. The first thing we want to do is take our power supply and connect it to the wall. Once we connect it to the wall, we look at our circuit diagram.
Three, if you have a PowerPoint demonstration, send it as a .pdf attachment, as well as the title of your presentation in an email to Ryan and Farley. Before you begin recording, you will be asked to wear a lavalier mic to capture audio from your lecture. If you are appearing on camera, fix your gaze at the videographer, who will be looking into his viewfinder. If you make a mistake, simply request a new take, and your error will be edited out. Making these productions will ensure professors will be able to deliver their lectures to a variety of new technologies for students on the go.
Okay, so the video mentions these four sort of templates that we have. The document camera, which you actually see, we have something very much like it up here. In fact, I think exactly like it. And one back there. It's like an overhead projector, only as a camera here. So you're probably pretty familiar with that. The main drawbacks that they mentioned, it doesn't do well with intricate design stuff, and there's also a little bit of a time lag.
It's a little slow. I mean, if any of us who've taught in a big lecture hall and used the document camera know that you can't go super fast across the screen because you'll just see this smear.
And it's a little bit lower resolution than, say, the computer screen capture shot as well.
The computer screen capture shot gives you a lot of flexibility though, because anything you can put on a computer screen, you can put into a video. So if in particular you want to demonstrate the use of some sort of software or the results of some sort of software, you can put that into the video. The overhead camera is actually just a camera mounted to the ceiling, and it shoots on a table, and you saw the magnet demonstration was done on that, and the quick arrow drawing. I think was that done on that also? Yeah, the quick arrow drawing was done using the overhead camera. I'm actually using that for some videos I'm making now for pre-calculus. I have a pad, it's a regular paper pad, about 2 feet by 3 feet, it just sits on the table, and I write on it, and the overhead camera captures what I'm writing. I think it's very good for stuff like that, working through examples by hand. But that's just me. The one that I suspect you're the least familiar with is the smartboard. And this is sort of a whiteboard that can act like a computer, or a computer that can act like a whiteboard. If you wanted, you could use it just like a whiteboard and just draw on it. You have these 3 different colored pens. It's touch screen, so you're not actually writing on it. The feel for the touch screen is takes 10 seconds to get a good feel for it. So it's not, if you've written on a chalkboard, you'll be just fine. You can also show stuff from a computer. So you can have a PDF with some stuff written on it in advance, and then you can annotate it, you could draw on it, you could draw little pictures, whatever you want to do on something that you prepared. You can do that on a web page. You can also show a video if you wanted. Can you find the dual picture with the Hackaboard and the adapter?
Yeah.
So one of the other things that you can do with a smartboard is actually capture the screen of the smartboard. So you saw that one example where there was an image in the upper left where someone was talking in front of the smartboard and drawing on it, and then you saw the screen over here. So this is actually not, it looks like a close-up of the screen, but it's not. Well, particularly you don't see him in front of it. This is a screen capture. And this is pretty nice because you can get a nice high-resolution screen capture. You don't have to worry about lighting. Of course, you generally don't have to worry about lighting. That's why we have people who know what they're doing and taking care of stuff like that. But this can take a little bit of getting used to, but I think it's really nice. If you're used to doing things like pointing at the board, you've done writing and now you're just maybe talking for 20, 30 seconds, and you want to point at something, if you're using this screen capture, it's not going to pick that up. But you can do things like, pretend this is a pen. If you take maybe the red pen and put a little line next to it, and you say, well, if we look at this equation, you draw the line, then it will appear on the screen capture. So little things like that can take some getting used to, but it doesn't usually take a long time. If you're used to working with a whiteboard and a computer, it should be fine. Yes?
So the smartboard both can be a whiteboard and a display.
Or internet web page.
Yes, yeah. And both at the same time.
So,
Yeah.
Amelia, if you drew on it with that magnetic marker on top of the PowerPoint slide, you would suddenly start to see writing appear in the digital capture.
And then, so at any given point, as you annotated, let's say, an image like that, you could say, capture this, then erase everything, and then draw again.
Yeah, a lot of times too, it holds pages, and you can write on the pages, and when you advance to the next one, say you need to go back, well, your writing's still gonna be there, it's not gonna erase itself.
That's cool, I think.
Yeah, any other questions about the smartboard? It's in one sense fairly self-explanatory, but in another sense very unfamiliar.
Are there any ideas about having select set of classrooms in which those smartboards might be installed?
That I don't know.
What I wanted to do is just get a sense from the faculty if they've liked this tool. And if it's the case that people really like it, then I suppose we could explore it. They're a rather significant price right now. They're about $4,500. But I'm certainly willing. I think it has to be developed as a model. Why it is that we would.
I was just curious what was on your future plan, concrete plan.
I'll tell you what my immediate reaction that I liked about this as an instructional tool in a classroom is I've done tutorial sessions for my class where I'm sitting there trying to solve some problems, and the students complain, well, I couldn't come to tutorial. But I could save a PDF file. I think Farley put some piece of software on a computer I have that it keeps the PDF file of everything I write. So now
On the
there's
smartboard.
on the smartboard. That's right. So as I'm sitting there writing, and I've done several example problems, now they're all digitally captured in a PDF file, and I can email that to the class.
Or put online through a
Put on Blackboard or something.
environment.
If you put a smartboard though in a classroom where somebody's not really monitoring and somebody walks in there and starts trying to use dry erase markers on it, ouch.
Well, we have to.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
What I really am interested right now is faculty input on, do they like it? Would they use it? Can they imagine different
right now I have students, I'm using chalkboard extensively, and then reinforcing what I write on the chalkboard with slides. So what I noticed today is the students are taking pictures of the chalkboard. So I guess that's what I immediately thought was maybe the better thing to do would be use the doc cam. But I hadn't thought about, is there an interface between the doc cam and the computer to do a capture of what the doc cam is recording at that moment?
It's Wirecast. That's what we're using in our office.
Is it loaded onto the image that's on the consoles around campus?
No.
What is it, do you have a cost factor on how much that would be added to a given document?
It's just software, right? That's,
Yeah.
So beyond the software, we could just install it on the document?
Like a site license that you possess for that?
No.
No.
No, so
It's
that's
price-
one
price
computer.
Just one
is it?
computer, and that's.
Alright.
Yeah,
that's
it's
it.
pretty
Not a
pricey.
license.
okay. That doesn't seem like a tough thing to do, but yeah. Anyway, that would be a fix for a $4,500 per unit thing. The doc cam you're writing on paper,
Right.
and you don't really want to go then scan the paper. So if we could do capture, you have the document there, you stop and say, voila, I did that.
And that'd be okay without the audio?
Better than
For
nothing.
the
Better
tutorial,
than nothing,
for the
yeah.
tutorial, yes.
Okay.
That sort of sounds.
Well,
yeah.
captures from the, I forget what it's called.
Smartboard.
Smartboard, that doesn't include audio though.
Well, so one implementation or one palette that you could get offered here is, if you don't want yourself in that little inset frame there, I think you guys have done a palette where you just have the video of the smartboard and the audio of the instructor talking.
Yeah.
You could do it that way.
Okay.
It's just kind of like almost a director's commentary of what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I tell you, the students would love it.
Yeah.
They're really tired of just seeing PowerPoint slides slide by.
Yeah.
Alan, did you?
Yeah, this little presentation is available. Is there a presentation just on use of the smart board?
I'm working on that right now.
Therefore, this afternoon?
Excuse me? I recommend,
Welcome to Dr. Alan Klein.
I would recommend that you just kind of schedule an appointment with us. We do a lot of practice sessions. You can come in, and a lot of times, people's practice sessions end up being their first class. But you can go in, you get familiar with the equipment, kind of secure maybe an hour or so, and we can run you through everything. And the smart board really isn't very daunting once you get in there and used to it. It really isn't.
Okay.
My observation is that it too has a latency time. If I write too fast, the little magnetic pen doesn't pick up. And so, actually, it's a good reminder to talk slowly and write slowly. And maybe that's actually maybe it's a pedagogical tool built in by Smartboard.
Because the only thing you really lose is the ability to underline with emphasis really quickly. But, so apart from the technical stuff, which, as I said, and I trying to emphasize, you don't generally have to worry about, and that's why we have people who know what they're doing. Not that we don't know what we're doing, but, well. So one thing to keep in mind that's really important if you haven't made videos before, haven't thought about it, you're not translating one lecture into one video. Right? The video, it's about 6 to 8 minutes, that's a good target. Longer than that, students just don't watch. So you're not trying to take a 50-minute lecture and make it into a 6 to 8 minute video. The nature of lecturing is you take a semester's worth of material and you have to break it up into 50-minute chunks. And that's a limitation. Sometimes you hit the end of the class and you haven't quite finished yet, so you have to wait until the next class. It's not really a limitation that you have with videos, apart from the attention span of your audience. You need to break up not by 50 minutes, but by topic. So make one video about one topic. What constitutes one topic? Well, it's usually something you can talk about in about 6 to 8 minutes. There are these general rules, not unbreakable, but it's a 6 to 8 minute topic. That's a pretty good sense of what should go into one video. So you may have 1 week's worth of lectures, what would normally go into 2.5 hours of lecturing, into some number of videos. It's usually not going to be 2.5 hours of videos, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the classroom that doesn't end up in one of these things. So there's no question and answer period, there's no, well, if you make a mistake, that's edited out, so at the beginning and the end, right? it's usually less than 2.5 hours, considerably less. But always keep that in mind, right? You want to break these videos up by topic into reasonably manageable chunks. And when I say I shouldn't insult the attention span of anyone, it's very difficult for anyone to watch a long video on the internet. I think that most people I've talked to, in fact, most people I've talked to have a lot of difficulty doing that. So we want to keep it in these manageable chunks. If you need to make a video, if there's one topic, maybe an experiment, say, that takes a half an hour to get through, break it up into multiple videos, 3 or 4, I'd say at least. Because that way, then you're going to be saying, here are decent places to stop, as opposed to a student getting through and just saying, okay, I have to stop this. Right, so if you can divide it up like that, do so.
We could provide headers at the very beginning of the videos to cue people so they know that it's part 1 of 3 parts of a certain topic that you're analyzing.
And that's actually a good point. They will make all that extra stuff look nice. Right? If you provide the presentation, they'll put all those finishing touches on.
There's one thing, this is kind of a comment add to this, is that something that may take a long time, like the arrows, the speed up thing, that thing took me 15 minutes to draw by hand. The entire video from start to finish, with some talking at the beginning, a little bit of talking at the end, is 2 minutes long when it's said and done. Because it was a monotonous task. Nobody wants to watch me draw arrows for 15 minutes, but the process of going through it, we just sped it up. So there is also that option to kind of do it. If you're doing calculations, you may not necessarily want to speed up through it so the students can follow, but on that one, we thought it was a good use of compressed time.
My own sense is, and this came with some coaching, when one wants to do this stuff online and you want to start really making sure the students get it, you want to put questions in, and if you're doing this in the context of Quest or some other assessment engine, you want to be able to put questions in relatively close to the content that you just talked about. And so having a 20-minute, 30-minute lecture chunk is probably too long. And I guess you folks that are a little bit more knowledgeable about learning theory than me say that 8 minutes is sort of max. And so if you can think about a single problem that you're going to do, or a single topic, and you're going to have to knit together 8 or so of those to make what you would normally call an hour lecture, that has the added advantage of being able to stick in assessment questions, much like you would pose to a class in a lecture class.
If you're using content that came from the source of the text or something like that, and you're using it in that format, is there a vetting process for intellectual property rights from, say, Pearson, that if we make this into a video and then have that in our reserves? Are we starting to record where that? I don't know where that.
So that happens to be a PowerPoint slide that Bill Young from Computer Science developed for himself. That represents his intellectual property.
I'm just thinking of a very common thing to do would be to put up a figure from the text, annotate that in the way that you want to, and give us unannotated. And I know it's fair use in the classroom. I don't know if it's fair use within the scope of.
It starts to get us into a gray area. So if we start borrowing figures, we might want to think twice. Maybe there are figures that are freeware that we can borrow that you can annotate again in the way you like. Maybe if it's a sufficiently useful figure, maybe we can get some help to get those figures made, because they might be a common tool. Yes, ma'am.
Sasha, are we ever going to talk about these intellectual property issues? For example, if Bill Young leaves the university tomorrow, does he own this? Does
So
the College
that's
of Natural Sciences own it?
Yeah, I have been trying to clarify a lot of what we are allowed to do with the provost office. I can give you my personal desire for what would be an outcome that would be favorable to faculty, but I want to emphasize that this is my personal desire, not a policy right now. It's what I'm working toward. My desire is that we look at these kinds of resources as much like as the 21st century textbook. And I try to think about our use on the student end and on the faculty end, replicating how we've approached textbooks for so long. I would like it to be the case where the university would offer upfront development grants to faculty to do these kinds of resources, much like you might get an advance on a textbook. I would like it to be the case where if there's a revenue to be generated, there's a sharing model where clearly the university has a stake because there's a whole infrastructure put in place to make a lot of these resources, right? But there's also an intellectual investment from the faculty member. And so you would like to see a revenue sharing model there as well. And I would like it to be that these kinds of things get written down in advance, and so people enter into an agreement with the college about this, much in the same way you would write a book contract with a publisher. On the student side, I would like these resources to be cheaper than what it costs for these outrageous $150 textbooks that are wonderfully put together by the publishers.
Did Bill enter into a contract with you folks?
So what we agreed to is that he's working on a course that's explicitly for an external certificate program. So yes, we agreed to pay him to write that material.
So then you folks own it, is that correct?
I'm not enough of a knowledgeable person, Alice. I really want to get to the point where I can write this down for everyone in language that a dumb physicist like me would understand it. Own, license, there's lots of words that lawyers use, and I'm not enough of an expert. But I want to get to something that looks familiar to us as faculty, which I think is the publisher model. Right now, I think we're all just putting into a big common thing because this is easier to use than Blackboard or something.
It'll be hard to have intellectual property that you would want to copyright and then copyright it with prohibited licensing, even to a university. So if you're a faculty member and you say, I'm going to do this, the presumption is that you're the only one that can do that and should do that. So while it sounds good, you end up being competed out right away. But you don't own the right to have a discussion on the subject. So someone else can create an identical lecture, and you can copyright it and demand licensing for that here to eternity. But someone else can lecture on the same thing. So the primary core concepts are open concepts, and it's up there used for all people in an academic setting. How you do it is unique. So just presuming that you're the best lecturer out there to do it, you'd be outcompeted immediately. So it's better to enter into a licensing contract with copyright held by the university.
I think whatever we can construct will be better for faculty than even a textbook agreement, because with textbooks, who knows, there's a huge amount that goes into markup for people I was going to say people with ties, but I'm wearing a tie, for people with ties to walk around and make money. And here we're not trying to do that. We're just trying to cover our classes. And actually, the other thing I have in my mind that I really love to get to is, there's Amanda over there working on pre-calculus, and by God, the kids in my physics class can't do basic pre-calculus stuff. I would like this corpus of stuff that we can all be drawing on. This is something you mentioned last time, collaborating on a specific course, but I think collaborating across the college. I would like to be able to click and drag a module from pre-calculus into my class and be able to use it. And as a faculty, we'll be better off because I won't have to go reinvent that tutorial on here's the trig, God darn it, that you're supposed to know. So I think there's a lot of power in what we could be doing here. And because we're doing something very tricky by eventually charging the students for the resource, we have to be very careful that we aren't seen as trying to derive profit from it. Rather trying to offer resources cheaper than what was the current, which is to go out to third-party textbooks and pay hundreds of dollars for a class. Although Kathy Davis just told me there's a class that's out there for $250 for the textbook. So Alan, I don't mean to defer on this, but
It's okay.
kind of going to
I think it's
defer.
complex.
It's complex.
Yes. And Bill Young is a lecturer. He can't.
That's right.
Right now, okay? And in fact, somebody might want to say, why not can him? Because we got his thing.
But then we get back to why did we do this in the first place? Because Bill Young, the lecturer, is also gifted in the classroom at teaching and mentoring students. for me, what's intellectually interesting about this, I don't want an electronic page turner. I mean, there's plenty of products that out there that do that. Where this gets really interesting is, if I've done all those derivations that I used to have to do on the chalkboard, then I can go into class and kick their butts about why don't they do their homework and actually talk to them about being students in college as opposed to just being passive recipients of me deriving things, and actually be a teacher. And there's where Bill Young, the lecturer, will never be replaced because he's a personal coach and teacher. But your concerns are absolutely valid. Now, it was a long conversation about not video, but it's important. It is important. Consequences are important.
The last major thing I want to talk about is how to choose one of these different templates. So the Smartboard or Document Cam or the Overhead Cam. Choose it depending on what you're presenting. So the best example for me is what I'm doing now for these, not example videos, they're videos of examples for pre-calculus. And I'm working through, in one video, working through usually the solution to one problem, a homework-like problem, solve this equation for x, something like that. And I'm recording it on the overhead camera with this giant pad of paper on the table, and I'm sitting there and I'm writing down the problem with a marker. And I think that for something like that, that's the ideal format, because doing an example like that is something that students are going to be doing. And they're going to be doing it on paper, even if their homework is online on Quest. They're going to be solving this thing on paper. So they should know that it's helpful for them to see someone doing what they're going to be doing. Right? Here's what the paper will look like when you're solving it. One of the big problems I've noticed with students every time I've taught is that if they don't know how to do something, they never write anything down. And they'll stare at a blank sheet of paper. And that's the worst way to get started because you're just staring at nothing. So if you see someone and you start the video, this is what I'm doing in these videos, saying, well, how could we approach this? Right? I don't know exactly what to do. Let's try some things out. Right? And they're seeing this being done on paper. So I think that's a great medium for that particular format. It's not a great medium for a lecture. This would be, the previous image that we had paused there is a better medium for a lecture because you can have things like the quotation at the bottom of the screen that you don't want to take the time to write down, but it's nice to have there. You can highlight things in color, but you still, with the Smartboard anyway, you can still draw on it, annotate it by hand. So that's a better format for a lecture. Try not to, you can change the medium, right? But do so carefully. So if you're doing all of your lectures at the Smartboard, don't all of a sudden do a lecture on the overhead cam right, unless you have a good reason. Maybe you have to do it at home and because you waited too long. That's one reason. If you have to do an experiment in a lab, right, that's a good reason to have a video and some pattern other than the pattern that you've set. But setting a good pattern for the students so they know what to expect. So they know when you're writing on the overhead camera, this is going to be an example. When you're up at the Smartboard, this is going to be a lecture. So that the medium is sort of transparent to them. Right? They know exactly what to expect just by looking at the video. It's very helpful. The last thing, this is less important, but it's something to keep in mind. You don't have to be on camera. You can do just, if you're on the document cam, your hand will be on there, likewise the overhead camera. If you're doing the Smartboard, if you just do the screen capture, you won't be on camera. Your voice will be, but you won't be. If you're going to be on camera, you may be a little nervous. This is okay. It's just like talking in front of a group of people. First time you do it, you're a little nervous. You get used to it. Just like in front of the camera, you may be a little nervous the first time, you'll get used to it. I think it took me one time to get used to it, so it's pretty easy. There aren't too many other technical things that you should have to worry about. Again, that's why we have Ryan Farley to take care of things on the technical side.
Did you talk about Bamboo writing tablets?
I was going,
Yeah, Sasha.
Oh, you're going to, or you did?
I'm about to.
He's going.
Oh.
I'm going to talk about
You
the
just
last
told
minute
me about it.
procrastination.
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously the thing we want to encourage and better thing in the long run, certainly for the students, is to use all these resources that we have in the AV room or in labs recording remotely. If on the other hand, you need to get something up last minute because you just waited to the last minute, or if one day you're lecturing and you think, gee, it would be really nice if I can have a video up on this particular thing tomorrow, then you can do a lot of stuff on your own. It won't look the way it'll look if you do it in the AV room, but you can get a usable video up nevertheless. And so that's what Saf is going to talk about.
Okay, so I'll talk about the faculty procrastinator model. I'm going to show you how you can make a video for not much money. There's a $100 piece of software called Camtasia that does a screen capture and audio capture of whatever's on your laptop. I got, for myself, a little document camera here. This was about $250. And can you punch my laptop up because the video is up there? Okay. And I do have a Bamboo tablet, although I personally haven't come to love it yet. So I can show you how it works, but it's not something I've come to enjoy. So I have two pieces of software running, one which is controlling that little document camera, and it's just capturing everything that's there in the document camera. So if I write something down here, you can see it on the screen. So I'll put a little cannon, and I'm about to have a little projectile motion problem in physics, and I can have my little initial speed and some initial angle, and you can see all that. What I would do if I were about to make a video is I would make this full screen and I would start recording. So I have this other piece of software called Camtasia, and I will hit record. And in just a few seconds, it's going to record. Oh, I have the resolution just a little funny here. Sorry.
Nothing special about using Mac OS.
I don't know of anything, and I don't believe that there is. So let's see, let me now make this full screen. Okay, so I'm still recording. I'll probably want to edit out me messing around with all that in just a few minutes, but I'll do that later. If I want to just tell students, what are the key equations, I can remind them what every student in a physics class should remember, and I am just talking here as if this is my only thing I have to pay attention to, but the computer's over there, it's actually just recording the audio. I could see myself over there if I wanted to, but I find it distracting to look at that while I'm writing at this. So I've always found it useful to just look at this piece of paper and pretend there's a student in front of me, like I'm sitting here and I'm going to be tutoring that student. I think that's the right equation. And I would usually just write like this, and then I would start going and solve the problem. And I would talk to myself kind of conversationally, imagining that there's a student sitting right next to me. And then I would go over here, and when I'm about done recording, I would escape from that view, and I would hit the stop recording button. Okay, yep. And now I have captured, it looks like about 1 minute and 30 seconds of stuff.
Does that include your voice?
It does include my voice. I have a microphone that's in this computer. You could externally hook up a USB microphone. The little white noise at the bottom down there, that's the audio. So you can sort of see where I started talking. And it's easy enough to go back to the very beginning of this tape and scroll through. And you can watch the video adjust. And I can look for the moment in time when I finally went full screen. It looks like it was around there. And I can just chop out everything else and delete it. And now I have a shorter video. And if I had made a mistake over here in the middle, let's say I said something really embarrassing right there, I can delete it out.
Does it delete the video or just the audio?
It deletes everything. And now I have it's combined find the video and the audio right there in that little sliding chunk, and I can move it over, and you'll never know I made that mistake, and now I can save this little file. And it also then outputs to a form of your choice. I've always put out to this form called MP4, is that right? MP4, because that seems to work on both Mac and PC when viewed on a web browser. There are some other forms that are only viewable, I think, on Mac or only viewable on PC, but MP4 seems to be a format that's supported by this Camtasia software and is universal. So then so far, until relatively recently, just started putting a bunch of links of these MP4s on a personal web page of mine and told students go watch the first 3 links. But more recently, as I've learned how to use Quest and work with the developers here, I started embedding those videos, as we talked about last time when we met last week, into a Quest learning module, sticking in assessment questions, and then another video, and then some more assessment questions, and building up to some grand finale type homework. And I found that to be really, really great. It's really seamless to do that embedding process. All the work is in deciding which of my lecture notes I'm going to capture in a little video like this. So, yeah.
What's the brand or model of the document camera?
This is an Epson ELP DC06.
You want to do that again?
Yeah.
So,
ELP DC06.
CC.
If you, I think, look on Amazon for Epson document camera, I think this will come up. It's a little thing, it fits in a case yay large. It's smaller than my laptop.
Did you buy it from Amazon?
I did. There are other things. I know Kathy Davis in math has this favorite brand called Ladybug. It looks like a little base, and then it has kind of a movable arm around or CCD at the top. But there are a couple of different brands of things that would be available at the $300 or less range.
Is that camera only compatible with the program Camtasia? Because I've been using something called ScreenFlow. So is it just...
No, they're 2 completely different pieces of software. There's one piece of software that just puts the video from this document camera up on my screen and makes it full screen. And there's a second piece of software, the Camtasia, that just captures whatever's on my screen. So in fact, another thing I've done is not even to use the document camera in my hand. I have, on occasion, tried the thing that Jesse sort of cautioned against, but that's me. Oh, I don't have it here.
Camtasia is good for demonstrating how to use software that you might have in a class.
Yes.
So if you just want to show people how to do something in Excel or do something in a program that's unique to a class, such as say MacVector, it's very hard to describe it. It's a lot easier just to show them. And they'll
Yeah,
watch
so
the
in
video.
fact, I've done videos, screen capturing whatever's on my screen, of me working in a web browser that has a Java applet with a simulation. So I just show you a video to show you that it can exist. Our internet seems to be a little slow in this room right now. There we are. Yeah, simulation of Newton's laws. So this is a web page I made, and I did a screen capture of whatever's on my laptop, and I had no document camera or anything at this point. I was just opening up a web browser, and you can see my cursor start to move through. There's audio here, but it's only on my laptop, so. I'm talking a lot, so that's not very interesting. Sorry. In other cases, besides doing a simulation, I did a little PowerPoint thing. And again, I didn't need a document camera for this. And if I flip through, all I was doing was just talking while the PowerPoint slide was advancing. And I found it useful to maybe animate the slide a little bit more than usual, to have individual bullet points come up as I was talking, as I hit carriage return over and over again like you might do in class, sometimes I get a little annoyed doing that in class, but it's particularly important to do it with a video like this because there's not me pointing. So it was useful to be able to do that animation. Right now I'm using the Bamboo tablet actually. That little pen right there is me moving this little Bamboo tablet, which is another little magnetic stylus that is connected to a pad like this, and you can write on the slide. That's a feature that you don't need any special software for. And so there's lots of ways to do this kind of capture on your laptop.
So you could be drawing on the slide right now.
I could be, yeah. It looks like I'm just gesturing, not drawing, but you could be drawing if you wanted to. Just like you did with that smartboard, you could use the Bamboo tablet to draw. But that's something that's in PowerPoint even. You can do it with your mouse. It's easier with Bamboo tablet. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, so as a group, I think that we have a Ladybug document camera that people could borrow, and I think that we could also gather up some Bamboo tablets that people could borrow just to try them out. So before you go to the trouble and expense of buying these things yourself and wondering whether they're really going to work for you, I think it would be better if you tried out some of the pieces of hardware that we have already before you do a solid commitment. Is that something that we can do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think we bought a fair number of those Bamboo tablets in particular for this summer.
And we have
And they're all
4
coming back.
available at this point.
Okay. So yeah, definitely try it out, see what kinds of things you like. I kind of like the document camera more than the PowerPoint and Bamboo tablet, but that's me. I mean, other people would say, no, that's too sloppy. It doesn't look as professional as having a nice PowerPoint slide, and I can imagine in something like your Health IT or Bill Young's cybersecurity, it looks more snazzy to have a PowerPoint slide advancing and then write on that. So, it's completely up to your discretion what you would like to do.
Bamboo tablet takes a little getting used to. You have to practice with it for a while.
Yeah.
One thing that it can do is you can have different, it'll draw dotted lines for you, it'll draw thick lines, thin lines, and then you can have to select the whole line and say, I didn't mean to do that. Or you can circle something and then you can erase what you just circled. So it has abilities that you don't have with writing with pen on the pen.
It seemed to have some of the same difficulties as the DocCam, though. There's this latency.
Actually, that was surprising. Mine's not slow at all. It should go just as fast. Bamboos are used for graphic illustration. They're pretty fast.
Sasha, when you were writing there, it just seemed like there was latency. It was behind you, and
You mean right here in front of you? No, it's
That's
pretty
how-
good. If it was really
Okay,
bad,
so it's different from the DocCam, is that right?
yeah, this is pretty. I think this is pretty speedy.
Okay.
I don't think I didn't really do anything really fast across the screen. I was just writing, so that's pretty slow. But I have found it to be completely acceptable to sit there and talk and record in one take. I haven't really found it too challenging. But I will emphasize, the stuff that's upstairs in this AV room in this building is, similar to this in the sense that I think it's similarly easy to use, but better in the sense that if you use that smartboard, you get to write on a surface area that's huge and probably more familiar to us than writing on these little Bamboo tablets. And you get probably a little better professional grade of video if you were able to plan that far ahead. So I encourage you to use that resource as well. This is very much I have put this off too late, it's midnight, I must get this done kind of thing.
The smartboard also gives you the option of having something that looks like a lecture, as well as the screen capture, even on the screen at the same time.
A lot of students really like to see their instructor's face, or an instructor's face. Yes, ma'am?
Speaking of which, I'm thinking about an enormously low-tech sort of thing. I like to see student faces. I saw Bill chatting there, and I chatted with him about how it went. I said, what was it like just talking to this camera person over here? And he said, that's difficult.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people say, they're just real tense when they're doing stuff like this. I've seen lectures, I think they came from Caltech on TV, and it will be a film of somebody in the classroom. At least it begins and ends that way.
Yeah.
But then they have all this razzle-dazzle, nifty stuff in between the videos and stuff.
sees my time here a little bit, Alan, but there was an experiment where the college tried to purchase some of these classroom videotaping machines, and we've never had the staff to personally deploy out into all the classrooms and man those machines, so they were intended to be standalone. You would aim them at the front of the room and record away and see what you got at the end, and never did it work. I mean, there would be errors of the audio would drop out, or the instructor would move off the field of view. It'd still be at the front of the classroom, but it turns out the left half of the classroom wasn't quite in the field of view of the camera. The lighting wasn't good enough. You can't read the chalkboard all that well. It's just so many levels of production required to get that to work.
I guess I'd like to begin with my voice. And then add all this other stuff into it.
Right.
So it wouldn't be so critical that the board isn't showing and things like that. Because I'd slip in the PowerPoint stuff and things like that. So it's just not that I was staring at a camera.
This might be a case where you would work with these guys to do that kind of editing montage. You could do a tape where you need to do that beginning and end that you talk about, but do several beginnings and ends and all in one shot. And then do the post-editing with the other stuff together. I don't know, but I feel that I would be, well, it'd probably be too much to promise that we could go out and tape classrooms. I don't think we can do that. And my experience that I've heard about from David when he was in charge of this was that it often failed, and that we wasted lots and lots of money putting all that technology in classrooms only to see bad recordings.
Okay. For the record, this meeting right now is being recorded. Is that correct?
It is true.
Okay.
It is true. And I hope I've not said anything that so I had intended for this video to be put up on the web so that those faculty who could not come could participate.
So it's low tech, but we've got some capabilities for doing it.
Yes, that's right. And Nathan showed a video of himself in one of the physics labs, actually videotaping something there because they had some equipment and they wanted to be able to take that. So we could do it. It's just not as scalable as I would like.
If I recall right, when Nathan was up there on the screen, it looked like he was about to receive an electrical shock. Okay?
That was also my first time ever recording.
You got better?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
No, that is something. And I've seen a couple of Bill Young's videos and stuff. His first couple ones are it's a little bit tense, but after about 2 or 3, he gets.
Bill really settled down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I thought. I mean, I haven't heard otherwise, but I mean, now he comes in and he drills out 3 in about 45 minutes. It's incredible.
So who needs these students?
And I mean, there's also there is Farley and Ryan in the room with you, so you can actually talk to them.
And they're so good at nodding appreciatively when you say something else.
I'm sure.
So, not to leave this subject, one question for each of you.
Yes.
To your knowledge, no one has successfully taped a set of lectures from the classroom. And for Alan, I mean, most of the class subjects have been introductory classes. Would you consider doing something like this in, I forget the number, the numerical analysis
The
class?
graduate class?
Graduate class.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Well, we're getting close to the end of our hour here. I just urge that if you have any interest, that you contact Ryan or Farley or Jesse or Nathan or someone on the Quest team if you'd like to get some work done on your own. They are eager to help and can even give you some instruction on some of the personal stuff you can put on your kitchen table if you want to do that too, or even better, do the stuff in the media lab upstairs. Next week we're meeting again, but I think it's Wednesday next week. Is that right, Heather? Yeah, Wednesday at this time. We'll be talking about trying to move beyond the old-fashioned multiple choice questions that are in Quest and doing real algebraic responses and graphing and simulations in Mathematica, which is now another app inside of Quest. And for many of us who deal a little bit more in calculational type courses, this will be hopefully an important change in the kinds of questions we can ask online. So if So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you in a week.
How are you guys doing?
Another tool you have. So, is the one from last week up yet?